According to the TASS news agency, the Kremlin held a ceremony on the 27th. Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a speech to representatives of the Russian Ministry of Defense, Federal Security Service, National Guard, and Ministry of Internal Affairs, to ensure the safety of the people, and in fact prevent a civil war. Late the previous night, Putin had delivered a nationally televised speech, criticizing the Wagner Group's insurgency as playing into the hands of the Ukrainian government and its Western allies. At the same time, more and more voices from Russia believe that Western intelligence agencies may have played a role in the Wagner incident, which has triggered repeated denials from the United States. "We are not involved, we have nothing to do with this matter." U.S. President Biden commented on the Wagner incident for the first time on the 26th. Reuters believes that the United States is trying to avoid escalating tensions with nuclear-armed Russia. The U.S. Politics News Network stated that the attitude of the West after the Wagner incident was, "Speak softly and help Ukraine take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to raise a bigger stick." Putin delivered speeches for 2 consecutive days. According to the TASS news agency, Putin said at the ceremony on the 27th that Russia's powerful departments quickly attacked the rebellion and carried out their work efficiently, avoiding civilian casualties. The determination and bravery of the soldiers and the solidarity of Russian society played a decisive role in quelling the armed rebellion. Putin also confirmed that a Russian fighter pilot was killed by Wagner armed men on the 24th, and he proposed that the people on the scene observe a minute of silence for this. Putin also said that Russia did not withdraw combat troops from the Special Military Operations Zone during the Wagner incident. The Russian viewpoint stated on the 27th that the commander of the National Guard Viktor Zolotov said on the same day that Wagner's militants were able to advance quickly on Russian territory because the main Russian forces were concentrated near Moscow, even if they can reach Moscow, but cannot take the city. Late at night on the 26th, Putin delivered a national speech on the Wagner incident for the second time. The Associated Press called Putin's harsh tone in the 5-minute speech, while the Financial Times called Putin's speech angry. According to the Russian satellite network report, Putin said in his speech that any attempt to coerce and create an internal rebellion in Russia is doomed to fail. The outcome the Western protectors wanted. As last time, Putin did not directly refer to the Wagner Group leader Prigozhin in his speech. The latter had released an audio file earlier on the 26th, saying that Wagner's troops marched towards Moscow because they were treated unfairly, not to overthrow the Russian leadership. Putin claimed that the vast majority of fighters and commanders of the Wagner Group were patriots who were just being used. He expressed his gratitude to the fighters and commanders of the Wagner Group for making the right decision, not participating in the killing of brothers, and keeping the bottom line. Russia's Izvestia quoted Aponin, the first deputy chairman of the Russian State Duma Security and Anti-Corruption Committee, as saying on the 27th that the president's speech ended the history of the attempted rebellion. On the same day, the Public Relations Center of the Russian Federal Security Service announced that in view of the cessation of relevant criminal activities, the department officially canceled the criminal case against the Wagner Group on June 23. The United States hastened to clarify, "It has nothing to do with us." After the Wagner incident subsided, CNN, The New York Times, and The Washington Post and other media quoted intelligence officials on the 24th as saying that U.S. intelligence agencies knew about the impending rebellion a few days ago, but decided not to tell anyone. That sparked suspicion in Russia. Russia Today, RT, said on the 26th that Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said in an interview that Russian intelligence agencies are still investigating whether Western intelligence agencies participated in the military rebellion on the 24th. He said reports in the U.S. media indicated that they believed Wagner's attempt would succeed and that they hoped for an insurgency in Russia. TASS said on the 27th that Zolotov, commander of the Russian National Guard, said that Western intelligence agencies knew they were going to act a few weeks before the Wagner rebellion began. There were Western agents there, and it was clear that even Prigozhin himself was instigated. After Russia quelled the Wagner incident, the U.S. ambassador to Russia and the spokesperson of the U.S. State Department stated that the Wagner incident was Russia's internal affair, and the United States had nothing to do with it. Biden also said on the 26th that he had recently talked with his main allies to ensure that all parties reached a consensus and coordinated responses. As if to prove that the United States did not participate in the Wagner rebellion, the American media also revealed several details to prove this point. On the 26th, CNN quoted several Western officials as saying that during the Wagner crisis, the United States and the West warned Ukraine not to initiate provocations and not to attack the Russian mainland. "We don't want to add to Russian suspicions that we are the mastermind," one official said. On the same day, the U.S. Axios News Network quoted sources as saying that U.S. Secretary of State Blinken had urgently called U.S. diplomats around the world on the evening of June 23, prohibiting them from commenting on the Wagner incident. A person who received the information from Blinken told reporters that Washington did this to ensure that American diplomats did not make any inappropriate remarks that would create the impression that the United States was involved in the Russia crisis. Lukashenko confirms Prigozhin's arrival in Belarus. According to a report by the Belarusian news agency on the 27th, Belarusian President Lukashenko said at the highest military officer award ceremony that day that the events in Russia made him heartbroken, and many Belarusian citizens also felt the same. After the incident, he issued various instructions to put the Belarusian army into a state of full combat readiness, and the Belarusian Power Department was ready to go to Russia. According to the TASS news agency, Lukashenko said at the meeting, "My position is, if Russia collapses, we will all be buried under the ruins, and everyone will perish." He said that the worst thing is that if there is turmoil in Russia, the West will take advantage of it immediately. During the Wagner incident, the Belarusian opposition also planned to carry out an armed rebellion, but was disqualified from the game because of a false start. Agence France-Presse stated that Lukashenko confirmed on the 27th that Prigozhin had arrived in Belarus that day. He also mentioned that the conflict between the Wagner Group and the Russian Ministry of Defense has been going on for a long time, and the Russian government has not handled this issue well. There was a conflict between two people who were fighting on the front line, and there are no heroes in this situation, Lukashenko said. According to the report, this obviously refers to Prigozhin and Russian Defense Minister Shoigu. However, Putin said on the 27th that the Russian government has provided Wagner with comprehensive support, and the salary of the entire Wagner Group comes entirely from the Russian Ministry of Defense. From May 2022 to May 2023 alone, the Russian government has paid Wagner more than 86 billion rubles in salary and incentives. In addition, Prigozhin's Concord Catering Company received 80 billion rubles in revenue from the Russian government within a year through food supply.